Good morning, good evening. Welcome to this week's live chat where we're going to talk about things YouTube, things live streaming, answer your questions. So if you do have a question, if you do have something that's bugging you or you want to know more about, please drop it in the chat and we will get it going. Live stream consultants, great to see you. Please be safe while you're driving home. I appreciate you still listening in while you're driving, but it sounds a bit hair-raising to say the least. So please be cautious and make sure you let us know when you actually arrive. We've also got Doug Hewson in the house, who is our mod extraordinaire, and not just our mod extraordinaire, but also lots of people's mod extraordinaire. So speaking of mods and the things that mods do, one of the things I wanted to touch on, I saw some posts and responses to some videos, probably to the shorts that I'm using. Oh, let's just kill that. Sorry if you were getting an echo. I actually accidentally had a secondary stream running in the background. Go me. That's what happens when you try to go, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to go live shortly, and run in and set everything up too quickly. You forget to close a window. Anyway, so one of the things I wanted to touch on today was about moderating and about mods in general. And that is that sometimes people get upset with the idea of having their comments moderated, with knowing that somebody is watching and checking and seeing what they're saying is appropriate for the stream, because we hear all these different things about free speech and, opinions being allowed, things like that. Now, I'm not saying none of these things aren't true. Free speech laws exist in some countries and not in all countries, but I think that, like Doug's here, some would say we need a mod course. I thought you said some would say we need a mod, of course, because I agree with you. Some would say we need a mod, of course, but you're right, we do need a mod course, and I do need to get back into that and finish putting that together. But which I've been sidetracked. Let's be honest, I've been sidetracked by other things, and I haven't touched it in a hot minute. So I do need to get in there and get that going. But aside from the mod course, good on you, Doug. Having a moderator in your chat, or having multiple moderators in your chat, depending on how big the audience is not a bad thing. And it's not about suppression, and it's not about control. It's about making a safe place for everyone in your live chat. It's about making an encouraging place where people feel free to ask questions, whether they feel silly or not feel silly, because we all know, right? Like we all know that if somebody is brave enough to actually ask the question, there's probably more than one somebody who actually wants the answer to that question. And it just takes making a place where people feel like they can go in and ask those questions. And if you've got a Wild Wild West in your live chat, the chances of somebody being vulnerable enough to ask a question, or vulnerable enough to tell their story, or whatever it is that you want them to do in the chat, if you're not making that place somewhere where they feel that it would be appropriate even to ask that question, then you need to have a good, long, hard look at that. Because the number of times that I read comments about people who are like, I live stream and heaps of people watching, but hardly anyone comments, or my live stream chat is toxic, or my community is toxic. And you're sort of like, okay, what exactly have you done to set ground rules? What have you done to let those people know that who are creating the toxic environment, that that's not appropriate and not allowed? What boundaries have you set? Like, as humans require boundaries, right? To help them grow, to help them learn to think, to help them to develop, boundaries are required. That's basic psychology. So if you're setting zero boundaries in your groups, zero boundaries in your chats, then you're probably you're possibly one of those people who think any comment's better than no comment. But I would disagree with that statement very vehemently. I would rather no comment than a toxic, horrible thing that would actually dissuade others from commenting. So like, let me know in the chat, what are your feelings about, you know, any comments better than no comment? Like, let me know what you're thinking here. Learn live streaming with John is in the chat. Great to see you, John. I saw that you live streamed on the weekend, and I wanted to catch that one, but I was out, and I was like, oh man. But I haven't caught the replay yet, so I'm going to go back and catch the replay on that one, because I'm very curious to what your take was on, you know, gear acquisition. So, John says, I'm not really popular enough to have haters in the chat. I noticed, like, for me, for this channel, it's not so much in the live chat that I get the iffy comments. It's more on the replays, or if I create, especially if I create a short around some content, there's usually somebody who's got something to say, because those tend to go, you know, a little wider sometimes. And so I'm pretty lucky, but I do get some stuff on my other channel, and I see stuff on channels I work on. And I don't even know if it comes down to being popular enough. I suppose it does in a way. You do have to have that broader reach to get the people that aren't your actual audience, because that's a big part of this as well, isn't it? So when you're thinking about who is in your chat, who is commenting on your replays, are they actually your target audience? And so sometimes, you know, there's all these people that are like, why doesn't YouTube just share my video to everybody, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's what they're supposed to do. It's not. But that's what some people think, that YouTube's supposed to push their video out to everybody. Well, not even unfortunately, but that's just not how YouTube works. It's more about putting the right video in front of the right person at the right time to actually get the view. YouTube wants people to watch videos, so they're doing everything that they can to put a video in front of people that they're actually going to sit and watch. And it just may not be mine. It may not be yours. You know, that just might not be the case. It's just how it is sometimes. So we need to learn how to make our content be that fit, be that right piece at the right time, because otherwise we do end up being seen by people who may not necessarily be our target audience, be the people that we want to see the video. Sometimes it comes down to what was in your thumbnail. Was your title vague? So it goes to a broader spectrum of people who think that maybe what it is that you put in your thumbnail and your title might be what they want, and then they watch the content and it's like, this isn't what I wanted at all. And then they might voice that displeasure either in the live chat or in the comments area. And so, some people voice their displeasure very, very freely. Let's just say that. Now, when it comes to moderating out comments that are not appropriate, you have to sit down and think about, like, your rules, because it does need to be even-handed. You can't just moderate out one person all the time and leave other people's comments who are pretty equal in whatever the hate or the commentary was. Obviously, if one person, like if two people are making the same point, but one's using language that is offensive and one is not, that could be the delineating line right there. The delineating line? The delineator. It doesn't need to be both words, Chantelle. So that could be the delineator right there, like making exactly the same point when one uses offensive language and one does not. But the person using the offensive language will be like, why was mine removed and that one stayed? It's like, mate, because of the way you worded it, you might need to look into that. Now, when I talk about moderating and talk about removing offensive comments, you need to be thinking about what kind of content you post. And if you're creating content that is for a particular kind of audience, and maybe you're after those sort of divisive topics, or you've got a very particular opinion on something that is a divisive topic, you might want people to be coming in and having those comments. So you don't want to moderate those out. It always comes down to what it is that you are putting out on YouTube, what it is that you're putting out there. You need to moderate in a way that matches your niche and your content and who you are as a person. So how I moderate might not be the same as how somebody else wants their channel moderated. But when I'm talking about moderating, you need to find out if you are a moderator for someone's channel, you need to know what their level of acceptable is, not what your level as a moderator is. And if you're not comfortable with allowing some comments that the streamer is totally fine with, you may need to sit back and have a think whether or not you're a good fit as a moderator for that channel. Because I'll be honest, there's channels that I won't moderate on. There's types of channels I wouldn't moderate on. And it purely comes down to who I am as a person and what the comments that they allow are. And so if it's like, sometimes it's like a difference of opinions, that's a bit different. But if sometimes it's like a full-on morality clash, then I walk away. Moderating for everyone is not the goal. Moderating correctly for each individual stream and finding the right moderator for the right streamer, that's the goal. And they will be able to, like, everyone will be able to find moderators that suit their streams because they have an audience, and there'll be somebody in that audience who might be willing to moderate, or there might be somebody in their life or somewhere around there that might be willing to moderate that kind of content. So, I quite often get comments and posts and even the occasional email letting me know that my style of moderating is too hard, and I am what was the wording? I don't allow free speech and things like that. Obviously, different people need to look into what different free speech rules are. Not all countries have the same free speech rules as America. And with YouTube, you have to follow the laws of your country as well as the laws of America, or the guidelines, the channel guidelines set by YouTube, to make sure that you are not breaching both. So some countries you have to walk a thin line to make sure you're not crashing in on both, which is, why some people feel that they are being more heavily moderated than others. Now, a big part of it comes down to there's just straight up comments I don't want to see. I certainly won't be showing on my stream, because they're just not appropriate for the kind of channel that I run. And you need to think about this for yourself. Like for me, I like to make sure that this is a kid-friendly channel, because there are children learning how to stream. There are kids learning how to make content. And while they might be a bit young right this minute to actually have their own channels, depending on the country that you're in, that doesn't stop them from learning how to do this stuff. And so, or the other thing is, it could be a parent who's learning how to do this and their kids walk in the room. The last thing they need to hear, depending on how they're raising their children, is some random Aussie dropping F-bombs while talking about how to set up your live stream. So you need to make sure that your stream, I need to reframe that. You need to be making sure that your content matches the audience that you want, and that your moderation matches the content and your audience. Okay, so you really do need to look into that. Walter's in the house. Great to see you, Walter. Thanks for jumping in. Doug says, it's what the streamer creator wants in terms of chat rules. If the mod is following the marching orders given, then those commenters need to direct their issues to the streamer. Absolutely. And this is something that does happen sometimes, is that sometimes the moderators aren't going by what the streamer wants. And now, in my opinion, not a good moderator. Okay, if the moderators need to be doing what the streamer wants. They need to be following the stream's rules. They need to be following the streamer's guidelines. So you need to make sure that you understand that. If you're coming in to moderate for somebody, you need to double check some stuff. So for me here, I put my chat rules are in my description. I also recommend that if you have the ability, YouTube does, I'm not sure if it's 100% rolled out. I think it might be. But YouTube does give you the option to create 3 chat rules, so that when somebody new joins your live stream, they have to agree to those rules before YouTube lets them comment. So I highly recommend that you adding those in as well. So people can't go, well, I didn't know that was the rules. These are the rules. This is how our stream runs. Learn live streaming with John says, a lot of people want their entire chat baked into their video or stream, and that always feels like a trap to me. Look, when I very first started streaming, I was learning from gamers, right? So I was doing my yarn crafty streams, but I was learning all the techniques from gamers because back in the day, they were the only ones streaming. Or there was very few people other than gamers streaming. And gamers quite often do want the entire chat embedded into the stream. And I agree with you. It feels like a bit of a trap. I like to be able to control which comments come on the stream. And it's not because I want to censor everybody. It's because the risk is too great. You may or may not have heard, but a fair while ago, was it StreamYard channel? I think it was the StreamYard channel. Back in the day when it was still owned by the original StreamYard owners, they would do regular live streams and they had some shows with guests and things like that, various shows. And they were showing questions, and the questions themselves, they were bringing them up on screen. The questions themselves were fine. It turned out that it was the imagery in the profile picture was not fine, and they got guideline strikes, and they got 3 guideline strikes for showing inappropriate content on YouTube, and their channel was terminated, and they had to fight to get their channel back. So just because somebody else has the profile picture of something that's inappropriate, if you make the decision to show it on your stream, that's a decision you have made, and the consequences are yours. Now, I personally think with all the amazing AI tools that YouTube have at their fingertips, they should possibly be going through some of that imagery and just removing it and giving those people guideline strikes straight up for uploading that photo to YouTube in the first place. That's my personal opinion. But it doesn't appear that they do that. There's some very suspect images that are used as profile pictures that people think that they can get away with because they're so small. But it is definitely something very, very cautious. Like, you have to be very cautious about what you are showing. So, default their profile picture back to just a letter. I agree. Remove the imagery. Walter's got a question for us. How much liberty would you give someone to comment in the chat when they don't have a profile picture that is recognizable? Look, as long as the profile picture is not inappropriate, I personally don't have a problem with it. For me, it comes down to the comments. But if you can see that what is in their profile picture is inappropriate, then I would probably remove them from the channel. I mean, that's me personally. And you need to make that decision for yourself. But as long as their comments are okay, and I may not recognize what the imagery is, then that's a different story. But if I can see what the imagery is, and the imagery is totally inappropriate for my audience, they get no free reign. They have, I'm scorched earth. I'm sorry. I will protect my other viewers. I will protect my other audience members. But if it is something that's just a letter or a blank screen or just a character for something, or a cat or a sunset or whatever, I don't care about any of that. Some viewers of YouTube don't go in and set up their whole page. They just watch YouTube. You're lucky they're logged in. My audience on my other channel skews older, and it took some serious education to stop them from sharing their YouTube channels with their husbands or their partners, because it just took them understand, because they were like, I don't understand why YouTube shows me all these tractor videos. I don't care about tractors. I care about yarn. And my first question is, does your husband watch YouTube on your YouTube channel? And they were like, well, yeah. And it's just like, well, he's probably watching the tractor videos, and YouTube's trying to suggest videos for somebody who seems to watch videos on tractors and yarn. And there's not really much of an overlap there. So here's some yarn videos and here's some tractor videos. And so it's not until the audience is educated. And this could also be the case with profile pictures. Some people don't know how to upload a profile picture, so they do just have the letter. Some people just upload something random because they don't want their face on it. And that's also allowed and acceptable. Some companies just use a logo, and sometimes their logo is just so tiny and small in the tiny imagery that you actually can't quite see what it is properly. I think those people need some education on branding, but aside from that, I truly believe that if you need to make sure that it's just not inappropriate for your audience, other than that, I would leave them be. But that's my personal opinion, and you get to decide what happens on your channel. Yeah. Oops, hang on. Wrong one. That's hydrating. Absolutely. I need to do some more of that. Doug says we've heard of channels getting banned for lewd profile pictures in the chat on screen. Absolutely. And while I use StreamYard as an example, they are far from the only ones this has happened to. So you do need to be cautious whose imagery you are showing. Like, I'm pretty cool with Doug's and live streaming consultants and Learn Live Streaming and Walters and Living with Parkinson's, who I have not said hello yet to. Hello, it's good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. I can see that these are very clear images of either their logos or their faces. But if it's something a little bit more iffy, I may or may not, I might just read their comment rather than bring it on screen. So or read their question. If their question is still a good question, I might read it rather than bringing it on screen. And this is the advantage of not having this sort of rolling every comment from your live stream appearing on your stream. Is, you don't get to play the, oh, I didn't notice that their imagery was lewd. But you've made the decision to take that risk by showing it, all of them on screen. And that in itself is the issue. You need to, when you are live streaming, when you are making videos, you need to be aware of every single thing that you put in your stream. You don't get the option to play the, oh, I didn't know it was there card. YouTube don't accept that. You've put it in stream. You've made the decision to put it there. These are the risks that you take. John has said here, I've actually adjusted my Social Stream Ninja chat settings to deliberately not show people's avatars when I feature the comments. That's a great option, especially if you are in a situation where you do like us, John, where we stream and we could have someone random pop into our stream. That really reduces the risk, especially if you are using Social Stream Ninja. Now, for me, so far, I've been quite lucky, and I personally prefer to leave it as is, because I think that bringing up their image with their comment makes the person feel a little bit more seen. And I think that's part of what I like to do for my live streams, is make you who are here in the chat feel seen, feel like your questions are being read, feel like you matter for taking the time to hang out with me. And again, that's a personal choice, and you don't have to do that. And luckily, we have a pretty tight crew here. It's a pretty small stream. It's not hundreds and thousands or hundreds or thousands of people, and the chat's going chaotic busy. So I have that luxury of being able to do that. Now, down the track, that might change a little, but for now, while we're growing, I get to do that. I get to build a relationship with you all, and having your imagery up on screen also helps me feel like I'm talking to a person too. So, but if I got to the point where, if I got to the point where it was just like, hey, these icons are getting out of control, having that option to just toggle out or add in some script or whatever it is, because I actually don't know how to do that, John. I'm going to look into it. But being able to adjust it so that the comments on screen don't include the icon, I think that's super important. If you are in a situation where it's more concerning. Absolutely. Yeah, Doug says here, not all viewers set a profile pic, particularly if they are not creators. Because that's the thing. I'm targeting a creator audience. So the chances are it's probably going to be a creator in this live chat. But if you are not targeting a creator audience, like on my live streaming channel, on my Fiberific channel, that I'm not targeting a YouTube creator audience. Quite often people don't have icons, or it's a picture of their cat. John says, I would be so mad if my algorithm was full of tractor videos. Me too. Me too, to be honest. Me too. And like, I agree with this, Doug. Showing all of the comments makes them less special overall. I think so too. Yeah, in terms of the chat scroll, I understand. But yeah, I agree. You haven't selected one and brought it on screen and had a conversation around it. Now, obviously, if your chat is insanely busy, this is a luxury, right? I get that. But you know, it's about making people feel that you see them. John says, it's not just about the offensive stuff. Sometimes people are using images that are other people's copyrighted material, and I just don't want to introduce stuff into my video that isn't mine. I 100% agree with your decision. Absolutely. And you need to definitely make sure that you are okay with what it is. And this is what I was saying before. Everything that you bring on your stream is your choice. And so if you are not okay with you know, the risk of somebody using somebody else's icon, like how many times have we seen people using Mr. Beast's logo? Like seriously, I know we quite often use Mr. Beast as an example, but his channel is the most duped channel out there. The sheer number of people using the Mr. Beast logo or even just a YouTube icon, pretend like hoping people think that they're part of YouTube. You know, it's I get why you want to protect that as well. Absolutely. Walter says here, lately I find most of the questionable profile pictures are popping up in my live streams is when I'm dual live streaming and they show up on my vertical feed. Look, I agree with you. My biggest issues that I've had so far live streaming is when I dual streamed vertical, and I've realized my audience, my preferred audience is not in the vertical stream. So I don't stream vertical, and that's a decision I've made. And that may be a bad decision on my part. It might be short-sighted on my part, and people may not agree with me, but I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't want my mods to have to be split across multiple windows hunting for these things, especially if in one window is like this one where everyone's really respectful and asking great questions and having good conversations with each other, versus say a vertical stream where the mods will end up missing out on the social interaction that they get in this chat because they're too busy hammering the other chat. And do you make it so that your attention is drawn away by these more negative comments? Because especially if we're using something like Social Stream Ninja, while the vertical feed chat's not coming through the YouTube live chat, unless you do the YouTube vertical and then they combine the chats, but I have my own issues with that, and I'll go into that in a minute. But if you are multi-streaming to both vertical, the vertical shelf, so short shelf, if you're live streaming into the shorts area or the vertical feed, you are more likely to be getting views and comments from not your desired audience. It's just people swiping, and the live feeds do get a priority in that feed, it seems. I don't understand the ins and outs of that. But random people who are not creators would get to see this stream, and they would, you know, maybe some who are creators who didn't know about the stream would also be there. But what I have noticed, and let me know in the chat if you have noticed this as well, if you are vertical streaming and somebody sees that you're vertical streaming and they know you're also horizontal streaming, they will quite often move themselves from the vertical stream to the horizontal stream so that they can be involved in the other chat. And so that's what I've noticed. And that's also what I do. If I know, like, say Doug is streaming and I find his vertical stream first, I may comment in there, realize it's the vertical stream, and then move over to the horizontal stream. I prefer to hang out in the horizontal streams. It's just a different audience in the chat. Livestream Consultant says, the only trick with the Social Stream Ninja is that after you change the settings, you need to copy and repaste the URL for your browser overlay. Yeah, that's kind of the thing with Social Stream Ninja. You change anything, you've got to copy and paste that URL again. Yeah. Okay. But it's a nice simple change. So that's cool as well. John says that's the power or problem with vertical. It's just showing stuff to random folk. It is. It absolutely is. But yeah, you get to decide. This is your channel. This is your live stream. You get to decide where you're streaming to within the limitations of which platforms will allow you to stream, obviously. But you get to decide which of those you take advantage of and use. You get to decide which comments that you show, whether it's all of them, none of them, or one or two of them. You get to decide these things. Your audience, while their opinion matters, they don't suffer the consequences of the decisions. You do. So you have to make those decisions. So you don't be bullied into doing things by your audience. So if you've got like some people have quite aggressive audiences where they are like, right, you're going to do this thing. Like I got bullied by my audience into making a live stream where I built this chair. The difference being I kind of accepted that. It was a different kind of bullying. But there is the actual, like, you know, if you gave a crap about this audience, you do this and you do that, and, you know, why don't you listen, blah, blah. Like there's quite a negative voice that comes through some audiences sometimes. You get to decide if you listen to that or not, or you get to decide because it's your channel, it's your livelihood, and this is your apple box to stand on to speak your words. So you get to decide. Doug, yes, you are guilty of multi-streaming across surfaces. Yes, you are. Amazing your destinations. It's great to see you. Thanks for jumping in. John says, yes, I always go the horizontal. I wish they were better differentiated. Yeah, I think that it would be nice that it was, like, especially like for Doug's vertical stream, the thing I've noticed is that when you're like on desktop, the thumbnail is a full 16:9 thumbnail. So you've got to kind of look for the nuances to see which one you're clicking on. I wish that they made that easier to notice if you're on desktop. Doug has put vertical in the thumbnail, which is helpful, but most of the time it's really hard to know which one are you getting. Yeah, I also noticed that sometimes in the title, Doug also puts a little phone, like a little phone emoji, but I got to look for them. John says, that reminds me, I've got to tighten the screws in my chair. This is a PSA to everybody. Go and tighten the screws in your doors. So in your front doors and your screen doors, go and double check all those screws are tightened, and tighten all the screws in your chairs. These things just slowly, very slowly over time undo. And yeah, the definitely worth going and just giving those a little zhuzh all around. Totally off topic. I've seen the double stream with identical thumbnails, and the only way they tell is sometimes is to randomly check. I blame Ecamm. Yeah, like I've started like just recently testing out actually setting up my streams in YouTube rather than through Ecamm. I mean, I'm not multi-streaming, so it's a bit different, but and I'm finding I'm preferring the setup process doing it through YouTube than via Ecamm. Ecamm was fine, but you know, you quite often had to go back into YouTube to change things anyway, like to change monetization and things like that on my other channel. But when you do it through YouTube, it's all just right there and it's just part of the process. Whereas if you do it in Ecamm, you got to do one in Ecamm and one in YouTube. Livestream consultant says, we won that one though. The chair was worth it. Yes, it was. I love this chair so much, and I'm forever grateful that you all helped me to A, get the chair, and then B, made me build the chair on a live stream. It was very, I had to be more cautious with the language I would use when building things. Ecamm puts the phone in, which helps me in the setup. Oh, that's good. And in YouTube, 100% full settings available. Yep. And I wouldn't say that Ecamm is bad. I just prefer, I'm currently preferring alternative options. I'm still using Ecamm. I'm still loving Ecamm. But, you know, we've got options. So why not utilize some of those options? Let's just go with that. The other thing I wanted to say is that since I've upgraded my internet in the house, I'm having a lot less problems with live streaming. Now, it's not to say I have no problems with live streaming, because Ecamm still does jigger the bit rate, and sometimes YouTube's like, hey, that bit rate's too low. But aside from that, still having much better option. And apparently me having this screen just with my face talking, apparently, what's the point of sending that out in a higher bit rate when we could send it out in a lower bit rate? You know, so that's why I'm like trying to move around more, because, you know, just to keep Ecamm on its toes. Ecamm does a great job picking up the YouTube scheduled streams. It really does. Super simple. It's a total, I've not come up with a problem with that yet. It just chooses the stream that is closest to the current time. Boom. So even if you have multiple streams scheduled, you can choose which one you're going to be streaming to. I try not to have multiple streams scheduled, it's more to not confuse myself, honestly, than anyone else. It's just me. It's just me. But yeah, so let me know in the chat. Do you have any other questions about sort of the roles of moderators versus the audience, what the audience wants, or roles of moderators in general? Because, you know, it's one of these things where some people, I will say some people, it's not all people, some people don't like the fact that there's a moderator in a chat. And quite often a moderator, like look at what Doug's doing here. He's not in there like smashing comments out of the way, and he's part of the conversation. He is our experienced voice in the chat. He is like the super audience member, where this is a person who regularly watches, who understands the nuances, who understands the niche, who understands the chat, and he's part of the conversation. He's not just in there being a policeman on his police beat. He's also a member of the community. So this is the thing that some people forget. Being a moderator is not just about the hammer. It's not. It's about being part of the conversation. It's about being part of the community. It's about encouraging community comments. It's about encouraging community questions. And in instances where the chat is excessively busy and the streamer is unlikely to be able to answer all the questions, sometimes the moderators can answer the questions and help those audience members out. Because at the end of the day, as a creator, we want our audience walking away with the answers. Does it matter if the answer came from you or your moderator? Does it really? Like if you've got a lower end chat where I need like all the questions so that I can keep the stream going, and Doug was answering all the questions, which he is not doing, then that would be maybe a conversation to have in private with your moderator. But if there's a really busy chat where the streamer can only get to so many questions, and there's someone obviously in the chat who needs help, and you can help as a moderator, unless the streamer has specifically said not to do that, then by all means, give that a go as well. Doug says here, I prefer modding streams where I enjoy the topics. I'm with you on that one, Doug. Absolutely. Having moderators help to protect the live stream and the viewers having an enjoyable viewing experience on the live, from Walter. Yes, Walter, I agree with you. Moderators, in my opinion, are guardians, right? They're the guardians. They make sure that everybody's following the chat rules for us, you know, or within reason. But they're also there to help them enjoy their time here. This is where there's a disconnect, I think, with some viewers or some streamers who feel that moderators are just, you know, a freedom of speech police. They don't understand the wider implications of having good moderators. Now, sometimes you're moderating on something where you may not be totally up there with the niche. You may not understand all the nuances, so you do tend to lean back and more keep an eye on making sure people are following the rules. But after you've been watching for a while, you start to learn a little bit more of like the niche, and you know, it's like when you go to a house party, right? And you only know a couple of the people in the room. They've suggested that you come along. You don't know the person who owns the home. You don't know what they would consider acceptable. And you're sort of sitting there while watching someone sit on the arm of the couch with their feet on the seat. And you're kind of like, I wouldn't allow that in my house. But obviously the owner of this home is okay with it because they're sitting on the other arm of the chair with their feet on the couch. It's understanding the nuances of what is and isn't allowed in the different streams, based on the streamer. Now, some streamers don't make that easy. They go in, they make everybody mods, or they make a pile of people mods. They give them no guidance. They give them no help. They give them no clear rules to help with, and they're just expected to, just moderate. And you're like, okay, what is it that I'm moderating here? Am I moderating for language? Am I moderating for tone? Am I making sure that it's safe for audience members? Like what? And sometimes the streamers just don't know the answers to that question because they know they need a moderator. And they just don't know why. They don't understand why. So sometimes if you're the moderator, if you ask very pointed questions, if somebody uses this language, is it okay? If somebody uses this language, is it okay? If somebody, picks on somebody else in the chat, is that okay? So try and get some clarification for yourself, because otherwise you can't be a decent moderator. John is asking, have you ever had people, hang on a second. Have you ever had people who are mentally unwell or conspiracy theorists show up in the chat? I have had some mentally unwell people turning up in chats before, maybe not so much conspiracy theorists, in a live chat before. Or people who were in a bad spot at that time. So, sometimes that can happen. I'm really like, if I know the person and they're not normally that way inclined, I do get concerned, and I tend to reach out after the stream and double check they're okay if I know them. I get more conspiracy theorist types in my comments area in replays rather than in the live stream. So I don't have to deal with them live. But the reality is we have tools at our disposal to hide them. We don't have to deal with them. If somebody does not toe the line in your chat, does not follow your chat rules, you block them from the channel. It's that simple. If they cannot follow the rules, if they do not take a gentle nudge into the direction of the rules and start in on their own agendas, and that's not the place for it. Sorry, this is not the place for that conversation. We're having this conversation. And if they continue on, you just block them from the channel. Before, when we were talking about bad comments are better than no comments, this is the same sort of thing. I don't agree with that. This is the kind of comment that can totally change the feeling in the room. It can totally change the conversation on the table, and maybe not some, like you as a streamer could possibly ignore it, but the live chat will still have to put up with it. And so I look at those as disruptors within my chat, and negative disruptors. Obviously, unless, of course, you are a channel that's specifically around the topics the conspiracy theorists are interested in, a whole nother conversation. That's your audience, and so you've got to protect that audience in the way that you see fit. So yeah, it's a line ball call, honestly, and it depends on what your niche is and who your audience is. Let's have a look here. I recently joined a mod team for an 80k subscriber streamer, has up to 2 to 2.5k in the lives. Crazy thing is he only has about 15 banned people. All the mods are active in the chat and not rude at all. The community is good. That's awesome. I like that. I like that a lot. And I like that there's a mod team. And so, especially like for some of these busier chats, having multiple mods is awesome. But having a mod team, and do you guys chat with each other somewhere as well so that you all are all on the same page? I'm very curious to see how that's working for you. So yeah, here we go. That was in the next section. He has a whole rules section in Discord and a back voice channels just for mods. I love that. That's somebody who actually understands what mods need. I don't understand why YouTube doesn't give us a back channel for mods on YouTube. Twitch do it. The technology exists. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. So forcing us off platform, thanks YouTube, to get what we need for our mods. Like, well done. But yeah, like YouTube want to be the destination for streaming, but they won't give us the tools. You know, they go and give us all these other live streaming tools that we may or may not even want, but they won't give us the ones we do want. Like tagging in the mobile chat. Like, seriously, where is that one? Where is the back chat channel for, or a back channel for moderators and the streamer? Where's all these other tools that we're actually screaming for? No, we don't get those. John says here, I feel like often people just find stuff they don't have enough context for. That's absolutely true. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it really does. Send them to scream into the ether. Absolutely. Absolutely. Send them to, if you've got a dissenting voice in your chat. Now I want to be clear here. There is a difference between a difference of opinion and a dissenting voice, right? A difference of opinion is exactly that. It's a difference of opinion. And a dissenting voice is the person who is screaming vitriol into your chat about, you know, whatever it is that they want to talk about that is in no way related to what it is that you're doing. And, you know, that's quite often they're doing it to promote their own thing. So there's a difference. Like we all know here, sometimes we have differences of opinions, and I'm okay with differences of opinions because it's exactly that. It's a difference of opinion. But depending on how it is framed and depends on how that opinion has been shared. Is it being shared in a respectful and conversational way, or is it screaming at me? Like I don't take being screamed at in real life. Why would I take it on YouTube? So yeah, it's again, personal preference. I know I've mentioned it before, but I got roasted for having a video about the National Zoo and Aquarium, and people were like, that ain't Washington. Oh my gosh. There are whole Reddit chats and is it, yeah, the ones I've seen are on Reddit, but it's oh, what's the word for it? Where people assume everything's American, and they try to correct people, except the original post was never about America in the first place. There's a word for it where people, anyway, I can't think of it, but there are whole Reddit chats about it. And there's a guy who does videos reading through them and discussing them, and it cracks me up so much. Like when I ask people where they're from and they are American and they give me their state, I'm like, cool, so that's in America. Whereas in England, they say England. In Australia, we say Australia. In Canada, they say Canada. Do you know what I mean? Like, so all the other countries just say their country, but Americans usually defaultism. That's it. It's defaultism. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Oh, oh, thank you. Learn live streaming with John and Google. You guys are awesome. Yeah, there are other nations in the world. Absolutely. Doug's here commenting on teamwork makes the dream work and third-party tools for the win. Absolutely. Being forced into third-party tools because YouTube will not give us the tools that we need. Seems odd. Seems like an odd choice, YouTube. Cool. You do you. But at least we do have the third-party tools, and I will be always grateful that we do. Chantelle and Dog, do you have a downloadable step-by-step guide on learning the basics on how to be a live stream moderator? Look, I don't, because I'm in the processes of putting a course together of how to be a mod, and how to moderate. So I don't really have a step-by-step. But what I will say, what I will say in that relation is, as the streamer, as the person whose channel it is, you need to have clear rules and outlines. And when you make someone a mod, you need to give them access to those clear rules and outlines. If you've got links you want them to share, you need to make them available to them. So Google Docs is great for that. And just be like, hey, DM me in this preferred social media, your email address, and I'll get you access to all the stuff that you need. So or we'll start a Facebook Messenger chat or whatever it is, whatever third-party tool that you need to use for your moderators. Make sure they've got access to the current links, and that gets frustrating sometimes. Like you'll share a link that you've been given, and then you're told that link is not valid, and you're sort of looking at it and like, well, that's the link that's there. So you need to make sure that you're updating those as well. So it's definitely very important to arm your moderators with the tools that they need to moderate how you want them to moderate. Quite often it comes down to some personal stuff, like personal things that you do or do not allow in your chats. Like if you are an educational channel and there's the chances of young people walking around, you want to watch language and you want to watch visuals and be careful of the different things that you've got going on. You want to make sure it's appropriate for the audience. Like I look in this and it's like, yeah, look, you know what? You guys probably don't care too much about all my pretty yarn and stuff that I've got going on back there. Are you looking for the list, Doug? There you go. But yeah, it's, you're definitely, it may not be appropriate, like it might not be interesting to you, but it's not inappropriate, if that makes any sense. So, it doesn't have to be themed around what your content is, but that's helpful if you can do it. But as long as it's not inappropriate to your audience, sometimes that's enough. Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were doing there, Doug. Let's have a look here. Amazing at Destination is so looking forward to it. It's heroics. Yeah, hello. Livestream Consultant says the reason we do that is because our states are like countries unto themselves. That's how we view them. Yeah, I think they sometimes the thing is though, when someone says Georgia, I don't think of the state in America first. I think of Georgia, the country. So, like it's there's different things, that I don't know. And I think it is down to that US defaultism. And I think of Australian stuff first. So I have Australian defaultism for sure. Like I'm not saying I'm immune. Absolutely I do. There are sometimes people will say stuff and I'll be like, that did not actually make any sense to me at all. So yeah, it's definitely we all have our own defaults. We all have our own, whether it's like from the state we grew up in or the country that we live in or the types of families that we grew up in. All these sorts of things change who we are and what is and isn't normal conversation. So there were some things that I learnt, like working for Daryl and his team, and talking with American people regularly. There are sayings that I didn't realize were Australian sayings that no one else knew what they were until I started talking to, like, oh, I'm just being slack. I had to explain to somebody that meant that I was trying to take the easier way, or I was sorry about that. I didn't realize that was an Australian thing, and apparently it might be, or at least to some people around Utah that it is. So yeah, it's definitely a learning curve for me as well. Things that I didn't realize were Australianism or Australian defaultism. I'm learning as well. So let's have the chat's jumping here. The chat's moving. Walter says, Chantelle and Doug, I watch you both on how you operate as moderators in Nick Nimmon's chat, and clearly there are a major you both could meet in teaching people the importance of having moderators. Yeah, I agree. I think that there is a very huge education gap in moderation. I do. Is today a public holiday in Queensland? No, it is not. We don't get the additional, like, all our stuff shuts down on Saturday, for instance. So we've just had Anzac Day here in Australia. So it is a I don't want to say a celebration. It's a remembrance of fallen heroes, Australia and New Zealand. So Anzac Day. So when we we fell on the beaches of Gallipoli. But we don't. But we don't get in, and we don't have the extra public holiday in Australia because we've got one next weekend. So they were like, can't have two in 2 weeks kind of thing. So yeah. Let's hear. No, we don't get the bonus day, but we do have one next week for Labor Day. That's right. Thanks, Doug. Oh, don't even worry about it, Walter. I thought it was me because I tend to, when I'm reading, I skim read. So sometimes I have to stop and go back and actually read the whole sentence. And so I thought it was me. In the past, I've needed a fake American postcode, and all I come back is to 90210. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that one's heavily known. I know. Doug might beat me to the mod course. Would it hurt for there to be two? I don't know. I don't know if it would hurt for there to be two. Yeah, they would say zip code. Absolutely, they would. So yeah, so you know, it's definitely there's definitely both US defaultism, Australian defaultism, all the defaultisms in play for the answerings of questions and how things are accepted. I do find some of the videos about US defaultism, I do find them really amusing. I do. I have to confess. I do sometimes, especially when somebody's prefaced their comment with like, I'm in England and blah, 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 blah. And then somebody comes in with a comment, well, that's not right because this is actually the law. And then you're like, you look into it and you're like, in America. And they're like, yeah. And they're like, but I'm in England. And you just sort of sit there sometimes, you're like, again, they must be skim reading like I do and missing some very important words. Let's have a look here. Oh no, I thought another comment came through, but it hasn't come across yet. Modding on YouTube 101. Amazing Yacht Destinations comment didn't come across to. That's weird. Have I missed it? Let me just do a little refresh. No, wow, that is weird. So Doug, have you ever seen it where a comment is definitely in the YouTube chat, which I can see Amazing Yacht Destination says, why not do a combined mod course? That comment is not in my Social Stream Ninja. I jumped straight from Walter's apologies straight into your comment here on modding on YouTube 101. Absolutely. Wow. I didn't know that could happen. I'm not sure why that has happened. All right. That's weird. I have not blocked or anything like that as far as I'm aware in the Social Stream Ninja. You see it on yeah, I see his comment in the YouTube chat, but not in the Social Stream Ninja chat. So that's just weird. That's weird. But yes, why not a combined mod course? I don't know why not. I just don't think it's a conversation we've had. I think it could make sense. I think it could work for sure. I often think that if we did a combined talk somewhere at like Vid Summit or somewhere like that, talking moderation, I think that could be a really interesting workshop or chat to be had. And it'd be cool if we could both do it together. Because we quite often mod together. It's just never been discussed. It's just not. I don't know why. Mod Summit. I think we do need to have a conversation with somebody about that. I need to find out what we can do. Yeah, that's all I can think of as well. Amazing Yacht Destination is the chat before, like the comment before it, you did remove, and this one came up. So maybe it was like, "Meh." I don't know. That's a little bit weird though. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's just not been a conversation we've had. That's the only reason that it's not been a JV, a joint venture, is just we've just never had a conversation about it. Learn live streaming says a glitch in the system. Yeah, a little bit of a glitch. A little bit of a glitch. It happens. It happens sometimes. So, I'm just all right. Oh, Doug says I posted some emojis earlier and the message went blank. Oh, weird. Really? Just in YouTube or? Oh, I don't know if I got that one in here. Oops, hang on. I think we might need someone to stand behind with an accountability hammer. Oh, that's probably not wrong. See, I saw that one and I did see that one earlier. Livestream Consult says, wait till you have to deal with a state like New Mexico, which is bilingual by state constitution. It can be interesting as a lot of names and phrases are unique to hear. Interesting. I looked at Amazon and I found no books on live streaming, moderating, something you both need to think about. I think I've bought a book on live streaming. Where's my books? Is it weird that when I set up the bookshelf, I didn't put any of my YouTube books back there? What did I do with them? They'll be somewhere safe in a nice little pile somewhere. But what on earth did I do with them? That's dumb. I should absolutely get my books back on the bookshelf. But I will say I've only seen the one, and that's why I bought it, because I only saw the one. Yeah. Andrew K is the accountability hammer. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think it was oh my gosh, I can picture his face, long flowing grey hair, blue glasses, I think. And the cover of the book is blue. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. Doug, can you think? Kevin Colby, that's it. Kevin Colby. He wrote a book on live streaming. I bought it. It's a bit basic, but it is a good starting point. It is a good starting point. And we need the basic books as well. You can't start at the hardest point and expect everybody to meet you there. You do have to create a ramp. Turns out that doing a course and writing a book is a lot of work. It is, on top of other stuff. Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Numerous people have designed dummy book covers for Chantelle already. Absolutely, they have. Sean and Benji wrote a book on the YouTube secrets. Chantelle and Doug writing a book on live stream and moderating. My focus would be YouTube live modding. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I agree with you definitely that I would also focus specifically on YouTube. Some of the actual tools themselves will vary from platform to platform, the actual nuances would translate across. Oh, you saw Kevin's book? Okay. Cacophonous Cat. It's great to see you. I actually caught a Chantelle stream. You caught me live. I am live. But yeah, it's definitely I also think part of it is I get part of the way through like writing bits and pieces. Like I've got an outline, I've got like where I want to go and things like that. And then those of you that have been around here a while, you know how my negative brain works. But that creeps in, and like, why would anybody want it from me? And then I pause, and then I get stuck in other work and doing other things, and it takes me a little bit to get back on track again. Also, books on technology tend to date super quickly, though I guess you can update ebooks. Well, that's true, and this may be somewhere where Doug and I may differ in our approaches. Is you guys know here I'm more about the mental game behind things. So I don't always teach the technical how to live stream. I teach more the preparing for the live streams, getting your things together, understanding that when stuff goes bad, that you might need to step back for a minute and take a breath and make a be right back screen, things like that. So I look at things from a slightly different perspective. And so while the technology can change, the work around it doesn't change as fast, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And Doug says, I've already figured out how to appoint mods on TikTok, and you know how to appoint mods on Twitch. We know how to do that. The only way I know how to appoint mods on Facebook is by actually giving them like admin access, or not admin access, but like editor access on Facebook. So, it's much harder. Exactly right. Can't expect the babes in live streaming to eat the meat at the barbecue when they need milk. Exactly. Having a casual Monday morning so far. Awesome. Doug says he prefers the technical side. See, and I think this is where we could meet in the middle. I think that could work. Oh, I made it home. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Oh my gosh. I'm very relieved to hear that you made it out of that. Yeah, Facebook Lives are a dumpster fire. 100%. I agree. They are totally a dumpster fire. I don't tend to stream to Facebook because of how bad it is. I don't know. So many, hang on, what's happening here? Learn Live Streaming says so many people have been conned giving their Facebook access to alleged podcasters. Why would they give their access to podcasters? Look, I see some awful things. I'm in the yarn crafting world, and quite a lot of things for that are on Facebook. Unfortunately, lots of Facebook groups, things like that. There's a couple of Discords, but it seems to be mostly Facebook. And we see it all the time where someone appoints someone in as an admin, and unfortunately, with how Facebook works, any admin can remove any other admin. So the second you make someone an admin, the first thing they're likely, if they're a bad person, the first thing they will likely do is kick you out as admin. So there's nothing you can do to stop what they go in and do. So I'm very, very cautious about who I would give any access to anything to on Facebook. Someone was told they'd be on Gary Vee's podcast. They just have to give them Facebook admin access, and then they're locked out immediately. Seriously. I really feel for those people, because they obviously really desperately want that level of notice from someone like Gary Vee, that they are willing to just go, oh, okay, sure, I'll give you that access that to my entire livelihood, for the potential of being on a podcast. That just feels awful. That's just, it's like preying on people's desperation, and I hate that. I hate that so much. Cacophonous Cat says to me, all lives become a dumpster fire on a long enough timeline, especially if your content attracts such people. And that is why we have moderators. Yeah. So that they can keep that dumpster fire in check. Then spray it. Keep it all contained. I constantly see fake podcast invites claiming to be from someone famous using a Gmail address. Yes, it's awful. It's absolutely awful. How that all happens, and some basic due diligence could save a lot of people. Sometimes the scammers are a little bit more on the ball, and they make it a little bit harder. but quite often it's something so simple as, something so simple as just looking at the email address that something's coming from and realizing it's a scam, or checking a username and realizing there's a typo in it. Because a lot of platforms are only not Facebook, but other platforms only allow a single person, like a single user, like Instagram and Threads and X and all that sort of stuff. There's an X. I'm not kidding. I got some messages on Saturday morning from a couple of friends like, "Hey, is this you?" And somebody had tried to duplicate my Fiberific Instagram and was DMing people. And so luckily Instagram works very quickly. I've reported somebody who is impersonating somebody else over on Twitter, and I haven't heard a single thing after a week. Instagram, I reported, the difference being it was my own, so maybe there's a difference in time frame there. But within under 5 minutes, the duplicate was gone. So over on X. So yeah. Videos or a book around this topic would be great. Just saying. Yeah, I've got to do something. I've got to make a decision. Sometimes the scammers intentionally make the request look super fake to get the most gullible people in the community. I think you might be right, John. I think you might be right. Or they just don't have to put in the work, because they're going to send that email out to literally thousands of people. And if they get 5 bites from it, they've won. So, a Gmail account doesn't cost them anything. It's just disappointing. It's just so sad when I see these sorts of things happening, and then like how hard it is to get these things back. It's just so difficult, especially on Facebook. Facebook make things so hard. Yeah, I'm not a Facebook specialist. There are some things I know how to do on Facebook, but I am not a Facebook specialist. And there are some of these sorts of things where I'm just like, I don't even know where to start to fix that problem. All I can say is that people just need to be vigilant at all times. And unfortunately, I've actually missed a couple of legitimate opportunities because they looked fake. And so I was just like, person's not going to send me an email. Like, turned out they did. And I didn't respond, and it was a time sensitive thing, and I just totally missed out on something. And it was just like, oh well. I mean, I didn't get scammed the other 700 times, but I missed the one good thing. So I don't know. Did that balance it out? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Facebook is so weird. I post stuff there because I have content to share, but I don't know why I bother. Look, I tend to mostly use Facebook for mostly for like keeping up with family, and Messenger chat. I use Messenger chat a lot. I don't actually post as much on my personal page as much as I used to. Sometimes I'll share streams and stuff in there every now and again, a funny meme, that sort of thing. But or my daughter's birthday or something like that, and I'll post like a slew of embarrassing photos. But I just don't. I used to be on Facebook a lot more. I even like my Fiberific community. We do have a group on Facebook and a page on Facebook, but I tend to just push them all over to Discord anyway. I just find that to be just so much better for community. So yeah, you just have to you have to work out where your audience is, and think about are you going to meet them where they are? So if your audience is on Facebook, are you going to meet them on Facebook, or are you going to find them on Facebook and hope you can push them to another platform? That's kind of sounds awful, but it's counterintuitive, and that tends to be what I tend to do. I find them on Facebook, I find them in the Facebook groups, and I either or in my Facebook group, I should say, and I try to get them over onto the Discord. just because I prefer the other platform. John says, I had to turn off my inbox of Facebook because I just get wall-to-wall people offering to edit my videos. LinkedIn DMs, honestly, I don't think I've received a legitimate DM in LinkedIn in months. That doesn't mean I don't get a pile of DMs in LinkedIn. I find it exceptionally frustrating because I don't like the blue dot of the unread thing or the red dot of the unread thing. And just going in and be like, sponsored for a start, and then editing. And you're just like, oh, man, I don't, who says yes to these things? Especially the ones that word it like, your editing is crap. You need me to do it for you. And you're just sort of like, does that actually work for anyone? Like, does anyone respond to that like positively? I don't know. John says, although I am obsessed with Facebook Marketplace, people will be like, perfect couch, free, empty tuna can, $500. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, and people do have their own preferences, absolutely, and moving them is work. It is work. John says here on LinkedIn, I literally delete without reading most of them. Yeah, I always just have a little quick look, and then I do end up just deleting most of them. Cacophonous Cat says, speaking of Discord, do you have recommendations for a quality Discord alternative? No, I do not. I'm sorry, I don't. I'm not really up there with that sort of stuff. I tend to hang out mostly on Facebook and Discord. I know that there's some people who aren't currently happy with Discord for whatever reasons. If anyone in the chat have a suggestion for a Discord alternative, throw it in. I'm not married to Discord or anything. I just don't know of any free, stable alternatives, because what I use Discord for, we also utilize, they have like a Zoom feature, and so I utilize that for calls as well within my community. So our monthly members call we have in Discord, so we don't have to get Zoom as well. So it's got other things that I quite like. It's not just about a forum sort of thing. Yeah, Walter says, oops, hang on. Walter says same thing for him. Sponsored. That's all he's seeing in the Discord. Yeah. Yeah. That's in I closed LinkedIn. Too many DMs is sharing. Too many DM is sharing for information. Facebook is now down to less than 2 hours a week. Too many ads. Yeah. Oh, look, John, I agree with you. I don't know what they did, but it is tanked everything. They've tanked the algorithm, so reach is way low, and people like the idea of third-party community tools, but you've got to be amazing to change people's social habits. Absolutely. Yeah, Doug's got a great question here for you, Cacophonous Cat. What parts of Discord are you wanting to replicate? Discord has so many features. It is feature rich. If you're not utilizing those features, then it could be making things a bit tougher for you for whatever reason, or you could just, be missing out for your community. I didn't realize Discord could do something like that. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of options in Discord for different things. So there's a stage option where people can just like watch like a webinar where they can be in a chat like this. It can be very similar to this where nobody else is on the stage except for those people that are on stage as such. And then there's a text chat that goes with that. Then there's also the sort of Zoom style thing, which also has a text chat off to the side, just like a Zoom call does. I love that I'm able to have both like the standard forums plus also the individual post forums, so you can just track what's happening in an individual post. There's so many different options in Discord. John's got some suggestions here. I've been playing a little bit of School and Patreon, and they have both decent features, but again, getting someone to yet another platform is a struggle. But on School and Discord, people will be notified of everything, unlike social platforms. And that's one of the things I like about Discord. I don't miss anything, you know? It's not dependent on previous posts. It's not run via an algorithm as such. It's just, you see it, you decide if you want to read it or not. Russell, it's so good to see you. It's been a hot minute. Yeah, I chopped my hair off, so it's gone curly again. So, you know, when I cut it short, it goes curly. When I let it grow, it gets long and curly, but I pull it back so you can't see them. So yeah, that's just how it happens. It's been a hot minute, Russell. It's been a hot minute. Cacophonous Cat says, I'm not a fan of the privacy invasion on Discord. I was just looking at covering the basics of Discord. However, these advanced features Chantelle's been mentioning have me rethinking. And, you know, it's one of these things you have to make the decisions. And, you know, like people are talking about the invasion, the privacy invasions on Discord. Like, I personally don't have a problem with what they're asking for. And obviously different people do. So like when I'm verifying a YouTube channel, I'll use my passport. YouTube delete it, but it verifies it. But there's some people that do not want to use a piece of verifiable data about themselves. And that comes down to an individual preference. And so, you know, you just have to just sort of think, it's so hard to word. You have to think about the ROI on it. Like, are you willing to pay this? So as in give up a bit of data to have access to this? No, then you don't get access to that, but you might find something else. And it's not to say that you have to do it. You don't have to do it at all. There are alternatives. I just don't know what they are. So yeah, it's very personalized. John says, I do a lot of markers red. It depends on the Discords I'm in. Some of them are a bit too full on for me, and I'm like, yeah. But again, I don't like the unread thing. So yeah, I'll go in and markers red. So yeah, it's one of those things. Let's have a look here. Learn live stream. What did he say? I'm not quite sure. I think I missed what Cacophonous Cat is replying to there. But yeah, marking something as red is handy. In one Discord group I'm in, you as a user can select what notifications you receive, and the creator can see who wants what notifications. Yeah, absolutely. There's no real reporting that you can get from Discord, or at least not that I found. I mean, there possibly is, and I just don't know where it is. It's more like you can just see how much conversation is happening. But so if you're after like analytics and statistics and things like that, you're probably not going to get that on Discord so much. But there's a lot of cool features and tools about, you know, about things. There's just a lot of cool features and tools. Learn Live Streaming says, when the under 16 Australian social media ban came in, I had to take a photo of myself to use Blue Sky to verify my age. Fortunately, they didn't hurt my feelings by telling me how old I looked. Yeah, I get that. Definitely one of those things where you just like, because I mean, and I suppose the difference in attitude towards what's happening like with Discord is like in Australia, which is where I am. It's like we all have to prove we're over 16. I mean, it's really not hard for me, but like a quick photo. Yeah, definitely over 16, no issues there. But I suppose it depends on the individual about what you're happy to and not happy to give up. Like as in your imagery, your data, and what you're happy to sort of pay with. Because like there's that saying that says, you know, if something is free, then you are the product. So like Facebook and things like that, they're all free, but it's because you're the product. As in, they get to target their advertising at you, so they earn from that sort of thing. So, I don't know, you really have to think about those sorts of things. Lots of people jumping in. Henry, great to see you. Hassan Niz, great to see you as well. The Cha-Ching King, it's been a hot minute. How are you going? I did a live when I hit 10K subs. If I hit 100K, I may do another one. I found it incredibly stressful. Yeah, if you're not used to doing them, it is definitely one of those sort of things. You know, if you are, and this is why I recommend that, like, start them on like a baby channel like this one. Get your live streams going, get comfortable with it. But your content's not around live streaming, and you've built your channel not around live streaming, if that makes any sense. So, you know, and I bet your audience enjoyed it when you live streamed. They probably came in and really cheered you on. But you have to sort of, it's a practice skill. And it's not just like making a video. It's totally different than making a video. It's a different skill set. Some things are encompassed, like the lighting and the video and the audio. Those things are all encompassed. But then you've got the distraction of the live chat. You've got to make sure the technology is working, that your internet signal is not being, you know, sucked up by somebody else. There's so many other things to be keeping an eye on. I would highly recommend a great team of moderators to keep your chat in order while you're doing this, especially if you're planning on your next chat to be 100K. So you might have a bit busier. John says, show them your Blockbuster video membership card. I have a Blockbuster membership video card. It's around somewhere. I kept it. Oh my gosh. Yes. Let's have a look here. Wait until you have white hair. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. What's the best way to get more subscribers? I would say, for me, the best way to get subscribers is to create content for a specific type of person. Create content that they just must watch. Now, in this day and age with YouTube's sort of like, I mean, it's not that subscribers don't matter, because they absolutely matter, but like everyone says, oh, subscriber numbers don't matter. They matter. We all know they matter. But sometimes actually even remembering to say, hey, have you subscribed? Like, have you subscribed to this channel? Sometimes just that actual, don't forget to hit subscribe. Just a little throwaway comment. Like, it seems throwaway to you. Like, just say, don't forget to hit that subscribe if you like what we're making here. And then just move on with your topic. Sometimes that makes a difference as well. So, you know, you've got to think about, what it is your audience are there for. So if you've switched niche, if you've changed topics, if you're a brand new channel and you're building content out, you need to make content that people want. You need to be packaging it in a way that competes with other content similar to what you're making, because your audience are already an audience of someone else. So go and see what those channels are doing and what they're creating, and make sure that you're meeting your audience with where they are. And then just keep going, because it's not a fast game. It's really not. John says here, honestly, if something goes wrong in a live, acknowledge it, laugh about it. People generally have that humanity endearing. They really do. They really do. And this is the thing. It's a live stream. People make mistakes in live stream. I forget halfway through. I've been live streaming for 10 years weekly, and I forget what I'm talking about halfway through a sentence, and then sit there going, what was I saying again? You know, And I'll have it as my system crash and burn. Nothing I did wrong, just all of a sudden it decided it didn't want to live stream. Exactly. The squirrel, bring on the squirrel. You know, like, this is the thing. Live streaming is live. Live happens. Stuff happens live that doesn't happen in a pre-recorded video. And guess what? That's what people want. That's what people want to see. They want to see that you're a human. They want to see that, you know, things happen and that you have, like, possibly a sense of humor, or obviously it depends on your niche and who your audience is, but they want to see that you're like them. So, you know, making sure that you know, that these things sort of, that you, look, the advantage of a live stream is that you are a human. That's the huge advantage. And that you build a human connection. You talk to your audience. You make them feel like you are talking to them, like I'm talking to you right now. If you don't do that, you're not making the connection. And if you don't build a connection with your audience, there's no real reason for them to come back. So you somehow need to connect with your audience, and live streaming is great for that. But if you don't enjoy it, you probably feel really uncomfortable and really awkward. Acknowledge it. Tell your audience, like, I'm doing this because this is a special milestone, but I'm really not comfortable and I really don't know what I'm doing. So if it all crashes and burns, I'm so sorry. And just keep going on with the fun and enjoying whatever it is that you planned for your live stream. But just every now and again be like, oh my gosh, it still hasn't crashed yet. This is so cool. And just keep going. You don't have to be the consummate professional in every aspect of your business. Not if you are trying to build a community, and not if you are trying to build your audience. There's a difference between being professional and appearing stoic all of the time. Okay? So you have to ride this line. You have to ride the line. Let's have a look here. The Cha-Ching King said they did enjoy it, and I don't mind being on someone else's live, but on my own, I just couldn't keep up. I get it. I do. I understand. And it is about practice. And if you don't intend on doing tons of lives or anything like that, it's going to be harder. Like, I'm straight up honest. But what you could consider is hiring someone in to run your production for you. Getting somebody to run the technical side of the show, so you can just focus on you and the audience, and you don't have to think about the technical side of the show. There's plenty of great people out there that can help you out. And you know, like, you can get a quote if you're not happy with it. You don't have to go with the quote, but you won't know unless you try. And that could just take a level of pressure off you, not having to worry about the technical side of it. And there's that, like live stream consultants, this is one of the things that they do, is they run the technical side of a live stream for you. Finding good people to do that can be very helpful. And then you don't have to worry about everything. You can just bring the comments on screen, and you can talk to the people and do whatever it is that you've got going, and you don't have to think about any of that technical aspect. That takes a huge amount of pressure off. So, I mean, that's always an option. Hang on a second. Oh, I need to scroll. That's what I need to do. I was missing stuff in the chat, and I just need to scroll. Russell says, I do so many things now. The biggest problem I have is remembering to actually get on when I'm scheduled for one. I was a bit late this morning. Like, I let things, I was like, oh, la, 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 walking around my house, looked at the time, went, and came running in. I'd already scheduled it and everything, but I was running a couple of minutes late. It does happen. It does happen. Let's have a look here. Cha-Ching King said, he's replying to Henry, the Hoops Yo-Yo fan. My channel didn't grow until I decided exactly who I was making videos for. Making them for me, no growth. Making them for someone else, growth. That's the biggest thing with YouTube. Honestly, I think, and I don't think people are understanding it enough that you need to make your content for a particular audience. Doing the whole, oh, I want everyone to watch, that doesn't help you. You need to narrow down who it is that you want to actually connect with, who it is that you want to. On this channel, I want to connect with people who are wanting to get better at YouTube and live streaming. They're the people. Now that's even a little divide in itself, because there's people who want to get better at YouTube and have zero interest in live streaming. But there is some overlap between the two, which is why I run with the two. But you have to decide who it is that you're making content for. If you try to make your content too broad, especially at the start, you can broaden out a little later, but at the start, you need to really narrow down on who your content is for to help YouTube find your audience. If you are too broad, you'll get no growth. So you just have to find that audience to start with. Live stream consultant, thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chantelle's video specifically, but also just generally in life. I like that. I like that. Amazing Yacht Destination says, I love live streams because it's more personal. I agree with you. I always feel sometimes content can be over polished. And I find that with live streams, they can't do that. So you're getting what you get kind of thing. We do all love a great train wreck. We do. We can't look away. We can't look away. Walter's got a great suggestion here. Having a run of show or a show flow can help you with keeping your focus on your stream, minimize your mistakes on the stream, really helps you not miss important things. Especially if you've got sponsors or particular things that you want to remember to talk about, having show notes is such a great way to get around that, to making sure that you've got things going in the right order. If you've got guests and you want to make sure you're covering particular topics, having those in show notes is a really, really great idea. Thank you. Professional versus personable. But like for me, professional itself is not a bad thing. Okay. But I'm thinking more of the high on a pedestal looking down at the nobodies. So that like that kind of professional bugs me, but not the others. Not the others. Can't believe how much yarn you have stuffed on those shelves. There is some yarn stuffed on those shelves. Yeah. Yeah. It's my yarn storage. That's what it's for. I did realize though my books aren't there. I've got to make room for some books. Cha-ching King, thank you so much. I really appreciate you buying me coffees. I love coffee. I will take a sip of my coffee in celebration of the extra coffees you have purchased. Doug says, don't do what I do. Create a checklist and never use it. I too have a checklist that I may not use every single week. I do, what it is that we, oh, sorry.
Yes, it's coffee time. Coffee. Cappuccino. Java. Yes!
That might have been a bit loud. Sorry about that. I just realized how loud that was pushing. Sorry if I deafened people, but that was my coffee sound. Almost cannot see the RGB lights. Look, the RGB lights are more there to cover the fact that the wall paint is hideous and a horrible color. So that's more what the RGB is for. It's not so much to show the RGB color, but more to hide the the fact that I don't like the paint color. That's really all it's there for. That, and I love RGB lights. Is that tragic? It's a bit tragic because people are like, RGB. I'm like looking at buying a new keyboard because I've smushed mine. And it's got, keycaps popping off all over the place now. So I'm looking at a new keyboard. I'm like, maybe I need an RGB keyboard. I don't, but it looks like it's pretty standard now. So yes, Livestream consultants have a Stream Deck button now that turns on the lights, opens OBS, opens 2 Restream tabs, opens 2 different chatbot apps. So I don't have to remember it all. Yeah, look, I have some buttons that do some things, so that I don't have to try and remember everything. Um, but my list is like running a speed test and things like that. So like it's much more detailed. But yes, I love being able to hit a button and it just opens all the softwares. That just game changer, absolute game changer. Yarn covers up the walls now, no problems. Well, when I first started stacking the yarn in, it didn't quite cover it all, but I've like squished more in. So yeah, it's covering it up now. Ching King says that one of my issues with live streaming is that I get so much packet loss with my internet provider. It creates a lot of lag. Yeah, you really do need to look into your internet. I recently just had to upgrade our Wi-Fi at home because we were having some serious dropouts. I had a Google Mesh system from like, 2019 or something. It was old, all right? I was hoping it would last a bit longer. I don't have money to burn. And so, and we have Australian internet, so that in itself is not awesome. In saying that, I do have pretty decent internet for Australia. So good downloads and uploads. The jitter is not too bad. And so I don't tend to lose so much in that regard. But one thing I did notice is, and this was quite a while ago, so things may have changed now, is I was having a problem with a lot of problems with my frame rates. Like, so basically it was skipping frames all the time, and I thought it was the internet and it was being really problematic, and it turned out it was actually my computer not coping with what I was trying to get it to do. So it sounds like with so much packet loss, it sounds like you've done some searches, excuse me, and you've run some tests, and so packet loss is a bit different than the frame rate thing. But I would double check that you are running a wired connection for your internet, that it is possibly not mobile data. You want to be utilizing like a, what do you call, like I don't know, like I'm assuming you're in the US. But yeah, it's check what kind of internet you're using. So I don't use the mobile data. I use the home NBN connection, which is our broadband connection that we have running to the house. So it's through cable to the house, so it's not Wi-Fi to the house. Obviously, different situations require different things. If you are wanting to live stream a bit more often, and you're concerned about packet loss and data drops, go and check out Speedify. For one-off events, it might work out a bit, but it's a little bit pricey. But what it does is it pulls together a lot of the local internets and creates you like a better mesh system, so for less chance of dropping out. But I would look into that. It may or may not work for you, but definitely check it out. But yeah, having the bad internet makes live streaming really, really hard. So another option is use something like OBS, so that you don't so that you don't actually, so you can change your frame rate, so you can actually compress your own stream a little bit, so you've got less data that you're sending out, so it's less likely that the packet loss will affect you quite so heavily. Obviously it depends on how heavy the packet loss is. Sometimes that's just chaotic. And also, do you have the option of changing provider? I personally, and I think Russell is the same here, I actually have my mobile data through one provider and my home internet through another provider, so that for me, they're backup for each other. So that if the home internet goes down, I have enough monthly data available on my mobile phone that I can use it for my regular live streams. I prefer not to stream using my phone data. It's got its own set of problems, but that's better than no stream. So you just need to sort of look around at what your options are. For you, this is like a once in a blue moon thing. So it does make it trickier. But if you're uploading videos all of the time, I would be double checking what internet you've got, because it could actually speed up your workflow as well, like just for your video uploads too. Learn Live Streaming says, honestly, RGB is amazing. I brought the Ulanzi light stick in a smaller unit, and there's just something really satisfying about it, although I don't use them on stream. I love all my lights. I've actually got more. There's more, but I realized that I forgot to turn them on. I've got I got little colored lights there, but I forgot to turn them on. I love how Australian internet is basically a slur. It is. It is. Our internet is a total dogfight. It's like I'm doing a dance because the internet that I've got in Australia is it's sold to me as 250 down and 100 up. I sometimes actually get more than that down, but I'm usually get about 80 up, which for this live stream, it is only requiring 5 up. So, I've got plenty of space. The live stream consultant says he finally had to go to Starlink. He's in southern New Mexico. Yeah, look, I know Starlink's got its own issues as well, but it's actually a serious option. You should look into that as well. Oh, there we go. I'm adding Starlink to one of my buildings. Well, you've already considered it. Russell says most folks don't realize that download and upload speeds are not always the same. One of our largest providers, Comcast, offers 1 gig download, but upload is still a crappy 20K. Yeah, like the number of companies that are just increasing and increasing the download speed, that's great if you're watching Netflix or if you're, just gaming, like not live streaming gaming, but just playing a game. But the second you're a content creator, you need to be looking more heavily at the upload speeds. So, we live in rural Texas. They've barely invented electricity out here. There aren't many choices. I understand that. Yeah. And unless you have crazy good internet, you just have to accept that there'll be a delay and work around it. And what I will say is, even with like the internet that I've got, there's still a 20-second lag between when I ask a question and when the comment comes up on YouTube. That's just going to happen. It's never going to be instantaneous. It's like, I'm in Australia. It's got, there's signal that's got to move around. And it's the same thing in the US. There's always going to be a time delay. And if that's what you're concerned about, I wouldn't even worry about that. You just learn to adjust to it. Because that delay is just going to be there. Let me know in the chat if you know what your chat delay is. For me, it's about 20 seconds. So I just work around it. And maybe that's the issue as well. Cha-Ching King says we get 60 down and 10 up. Hey, until I had NBN, which was very recently, we had 50 down and 10 up. And I started live streaming on this channel when my internet was 4 down and 2 up. Now, admittedly, I had to 720p stream it, compress the bit rate, but it's doable. You can do it. I mean, compared to the ye-old dial-up, we probably complain too much. I don't know if we do complain too much. Like I'm not going to compare to dial-up. I want to compare to the countries that I'm competing for work in. That's the internet I want to compare against, because that's where it really matters. Russell says that in my lives on my webinar kit, my live chat delay is only a few seconds. That's great. That's really good. I'm glad. And I mean, you're paying an extra for webinar software. Well, I'm assuming you are. I don't know anything about webinar kit, but usually the webinar softwares do have a better ingest and relay, which is kind of why they can charge what they charge. We should all move to Singapore and work remote. Yes, we should. No, we shouldn't. And Singapore's like, no more people. We've got enough. Singapore is so cramped. So yeah, no, they do have some pretty solid internet though. But and like everyone's like, oh well, look, it's the size of Singapore compared to the size of Australia. And I'm like, I get it. Okay, we are geographically enormous. We're very big. So, it's one of those things. Amazing Got Destination says Thailand is still here. Yeah, but Thailand's internet's not always, stable. right? I mean, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Russell says, I'll take Florida, 1 gig, South Florida, 1 gig up and down. I mean, do I want to live in Florida? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I can handle the weather. Like, I don't like the weather I have here. And so I don't know if I would cope with the weather in Florida. I'm looking for colder climes. I'm looking for somewhere that I can tell the difference between summer and winter. Uh, so, like, oh no, summer is like melting hot and sweat dripping out of your eyebrows into your eyes. And winter is just like, I'm still hot, but there's just a little less, waterfalls off your face kind of thing. I don't know. And less rain. So, mind you, we've been getting some cooler days here and I am okay with that. I'm loving it. So, different things, different people like different things. So yeah. You can tell when it's summer in Texas. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. I mean, when I say, you can't tell if it's summer or winter, it's because it always feels like summer here. We're in subtropics. It's hot. I'm just reading the chat here. Amazing Yacht Destination says, my internet's pretty stable. In 10 years, I had 1 day of no internet and got an apology from them and a discount the next bill. That's solid. That's pretty nice. Which region, if you don't mind me asking, please don't feel like you have to say anything, but I was just wondering which region of Thailand you're in, because I know Nick and Dee have some issues with their internet at times, and they're more around that Chiang Mai area, so that's a bit more back in the mountains, but I mean, maybe you're in a different part of Phuket. Oh, okay. So you are much more sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Metropolitan? Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. A bit more city. So, but yeah, okay. Well, that's cool. On the coast. Thank you. Coastal. Coastal definitely helps. Walter says, great live stream tonight and great conversation in the chat. Create some great content this week on your channels. Good night, all. Good night. Have an awesome one. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate you visiting with us, Walter. Somehow I doubt you'll move to another block. Forget another climate. Yeah. I don't like moving house. I used to move a lot and I grew up moving a lot. And so as I've gotten older and I get to choose if we move or not, I tend not to move. But I think if there was a good enough reason, I'd pack it all up. I mean, I'd need to be able to buy yarn wherever we went to. So yeah. South and very tourist driven. They know the internet is stable for the tourists. Okay, I get that. I can travel. Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to more travel in the future. So, yes. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I'm definitely looking forward to doing some more. That's it. Even if it's just around Australia, whatever, somewhere. I would prefer somewhere cold. I'd like to visit somewhere cold so I can feel what real cold feels like. I'll probably complain about it the whole time I'm there and then come home and be like, oh man, I want to go back to where it was cold. I don't know. It's one of these, like, you grow up and like our Christmas is in summer and it's so hot and we don't do the roast dinners and things like that for Christmas because it's just so hot. And the same with Halloween, right? So here Halloween, it's still daylight until like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So all the trick-or-treaters are little kids and they're coming out and it's still bright sunshine when they're out doing their trick-or-treating. And so I'd love to be somewhere where it's Halloween, where it's getting cooler and it's spookier because it's darker. And, like I'd like to experience some of that stuff, I think. But yeah. We had a northern Minnesota every summer we head to northern Minnesota every summer for vacation to escape the heat. Got to do what you got to do. You really do. The mountains of New Mexico are calling you, Chantelle. They get 6 inches of snow and more during winter. Yeah, yeah. That is so true. If you want roast Christmas dinner in Brisbane, which is where I am, you just put the food outside for 15 minutes. Yeah, that just feels so true. It's just like you need to crispy up that roast, just put it in the sun. And you'll need pot holders to get the tray back out of the sun again because it will be hot. Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely. So, but on that note, everybody, thank you so much for joining in the conversation today, for coming in and asking your fantastic questions. I hope you got the answers that you were looking for, or at least a way to take your next step in your research for what it is that you want to do. And I will catch you back here next week, and I will see you all next time. Bye now.